and common sense collide. Starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto.
Boom, we're live, baby.
Boom, we are live. My bad. Crypto fam, good evening. I was messing around with my phone and didn't see that we had clicked back over. So, hey, good evening, Crypto fam. We have got another TA Thursday with your boy, CVO Crypto. We took last week off, guys. Listen, I hope you can forgive us. Last week was a little thing we call Thanksgiving, okay? So we spent time with our families, and we're just praying that you're going to just not kick us out of your life. So we do appreciate
we're praying
you giving
for Bitcoin to hit 100K. That's what we're
praying. Well, we're praying for that too. And tonight, the man, the myth, the legend, Paul, CVO Crypto, is going to explain what we got going on in the charts. But before we get that going, let's just take a quick little peek over at the market as a whole. So did I just pull up the, there we go. Gotcha. All right. So top of the market, as always, Bitcoin, we're down about 0.84%, pretty stagnant. We're actually kind of crabbing along, so to speak. We're down 3.5% almost on the weekly. ETH down a little bit over 1%. Binance Coin, same thing. Tether. Okay. That's a joke. Solana up 0.61%. Cardano, my boy, up 9.7%. So that's a nice move. We've been waiting on that. XRP down 0.74. Listen, guys, as we scroll through here, everything is basically either up 0.8% or down 0.8%. It's just basically what we like to call, or what I think Paul might call, a crab market right now. And so we're trying to figure out which way we are going. So speaking of that, first of all, before we jump into it, we just want to remind you guys that coming up, whoopsie, man, I'm having troubles tonight. Coming up, December 22nd or December 23rd, we're giving away $500. So if you are subscribed to the channel, we are giving away $500, not 5, not 50, but 500. All you got to do is be subscribed. So, hey, do yourself a favor. You're either going to learn something or you're going to win $500. Or maybe one lucky person is going to do both. So if not, guys, make sure you smash a like. Let YouTube know that you don't think we're a bunch of idiots, that you actually enjoy the content. If you are in the chat, guys, smash those likes. Let us know how you're feeling this evening. Tell us whether you think we're beautiful, because I got a new camera going and now I'm in high def.
Look at that beard.
It's coming back. All right, so let's kick it off. So, Paul, first of all, talk to me about where we are at right this second. What are you looking at? What are you thinking?
So I hope everybody, first off, thanks for having me back. Again, as always. Everybody be sure, from the CVO crew, make sure you hit the likes and subscribe to these guys. Last week, Thanksgiving, 2 reasons we didn't do the show. 1, obviously it was a holiday. 2, I had to go to Puerto Rico to find a hideaway house since Bitcoin didn't hit 100K by Turkey Day.
Must be rough.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. So no, it's, it's that whole idea at this point, right? Like 2 months ago, when we were coming out of coming into October, and we had, we were essentially, in comparison to the previous cycle. I mean, we've been over this 1,000 times at this point.
Right.
We were right on par to see similar, price action meeting those targets that we had in place, right? And I know it still sounds upwards of, crazy, especially because we've just been trending sideways. But we were looking at 200, 250, 124 at least, right? And basically, I was talking with Nick, I think BlockchainCrusader. I was talking with CryptoKeeper for a few minutes. But one thing that I guess I was a little weary of, and now it kind of came to fruition, obviously, was that, once again, like the majority of people are not going to be rewarded, right? The masses, right? If everybody's got the same idea, obviously it's not going to happen. Earlier today, on Around the Blockchain, I'd mentioned there's basically a stagnation of targets for the end of the cycle. The first major area was September, right? A lot of, major, anybody that was kind of analyzing the halving cycles and this and that, we were looking for September of this year being, previously we've seen X amount of days from that previous halving cycles. And that's where we had topped previously. And September was essentially that next area. And then there's the 4-year cycle that kind of goes a little bit different from there. And essentially you have Bitcoin topping out in December every 4 years. And then you have the altcoins, kind of superseding that, a couple weeks later. Well, now we're walking in to this to December at this point, and we're still below all-time high. So obviously, mathematically speaking, it's not possible to reach the targets that I was looking for. 100K in December, very possible, maybe more than that. But essentially, to me, I still feel that the target. I kind of am kicking the timeline at this point, right? So obviously, I was wrong in that aspect, going with the idea that December would be the 250K price target. But I'm not gonna, I guess personally, pick up a new time frame. There's a lot of weight that goes into March. There's a lot of weight that goes into May of 2022. And then you got the Benjamin Cohen, extending cycle upwards of, even into 2023. So it's just kind of a vague net at this point. And once we cross the threshold, I think, of next month, and if we're still kind of under 100K, or just in general where the market's just not topped out yet, to me, I feel like that's the wild, wild west at that point, because now you have just unlimited potential for this market to top out at. Either it's going to be here, it's going to be here, it's going to be there. It may have already happened. It's just going to be such a confusing time, right? That's like the number one thing. So for me, I'm still looking for the targets that we've set in place for Ethereum, for Bitcoin as well, for multiple other altcoins. Timing wise, we'll have to see how it unfolds. But at this point too, I'm going to pull up the Bitcoin chart here. I just put
before we get into the chart. So
yeah.
I wanted to bring up. So we're talking about delayed, right? Extended cycle possibility, time frame changing. And this question is for both of you guys. You guys take your time answering it. Nick and I were talking about it yesterday, and I want to bring it up again. Could this be because of what is happening in the crypto markets, that there's not so much attention on accumulating Bitcoin because people are spending their money on these DAOs, on these NFTs, on the metaverses, right, on buying land and buying all these other things, and there's not really a hyper focus on Bitcoin from the retail side and from that kind of attention. They're all more in these very speculative assets. There's a lot more attention on that, and then institutions are the only ones focused on Bitcoin, and maybe they're using this opportunity to accumulate as much Bitcoin as they can, because extending the cycle out would benefit them to accumulate more, while retail is invested, or at least focusing on these NFTs and so on. What do you guys think?
I could see, I'll tell you, and I'll let Paul come in after this and kind of look at some charts as it relates to that too, possibly, because I know that's what he likes. That's his go-to. But here's what I could see. That my only issue with that thought process is that my understanding is the majority of the huge movement doesn't come from retail. It did back in 2017. I would venture to say, Miguel, and I know you remember this, Paul, you remember this, that the majority of the movement was driven by retail back in 2017. Right now, I do not think that that's the case. I think that retail is going to be the scapegoat. I think, or not the scapegoat, the setup man, right? That retail is going to be set up to be the bag holder. You've heard Paul talk about professional bag holders. And I think that the retail craze right now, yes, Miguel, you're right. The retail craze right now is on these DAOs, are earning 80,000, APY. You've got NFTs. I mean, Miguel, we waited for literally, so we got 5 of the Matrix NFTs the first day, right? And that took a few hours, but you just got lucky and got on the very front of the line. I was 44,000 people back, right? And it took 2 days. And what did I do? I kept myself freaking logged in. I had alerts set on my email, and I was waiting for that NFT drop. That's kind of crazy, right? And so I see a lot of the craze pushing over into different areas where I could definitely see the retail portion saying, you know what? Bitcoin's not going to give me but maybe a 2x from here, maybe a 3x, maybe a 4x. But I've got friends that are putting in a few $100s on an NFT and changing their life, which side note, that rarely happens, but it does, right? And so I could see that. My problem with the macro idea on that is that I don't know that there is enough money retail wise to move these markets to the numbers that, for example, Paul is talking about. Paul, do you disagree with
So
that?
before Paul jumps in, I want to re-clarify. I'm not saying that retail is moving the markets. What I'm saying is, especially for Bitcoin, right? What I'm saying is, since retail's attention isn't on Bitcoin, the institutions are not pressured to make them the bag holder just yet. And
Oh,
be
okay.
extending out the cycle because we're distracted with all these NFTs and metaverse, and they get more time to accumulate longer term.
So you're almost thinking that they're trying to basically get us to a position where maybe they can fire things off to then get people's attention back on Bitcoin. People are
Exactly.
piling back in, jumping into alts after that, and basically getting them back into that mind frame.
Yes.
Hey, listen, Miguel, that's probably the smartest thing you've said all day. So I just want to tell you that is a that is a thinking man that thought up that came up with that. I like it. I do. I like it. I like it. What are your thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, right now the retail person is definitely not going to Bitcoin, right? Like and even if the hype was there right now, it's just not the return rate. Like I think, if you could Google something quickly, everybody, the altcoins and the NFTs and all these things are definitely more attractive. Also, congrats on getting the Matrix NFTs because yeah, those were like sold out instantly. It's to me, it's perfect example, right? Like to see right now, we're waiting on a Bitcoin move. It's not like out of no. October was a perfect example, right? October 1st came and we got a massive, green candle on the first day, right? There's not a chance that a bunch of retail people all of a sudden decide to buy Bitcoin, right? That was a major, a whale move, easily. And what that does is that incites, the FOMO, because now it's like people right now we're at 56,000 for example. You're talking, people are under the impression we might go to 100 or we might go to 200, maybe we'll go to 80, whatever the case is. But they really won't buy it right now while we're like in a downtrend. But a second we get a nice big green candle and, incentivized by a whale or massive entity that comes in and buys it up, then people would jump into that. But I do agree that they're definitely more inept to go towards the NFTs and the altcoins and these smaller things that are offering huge returns in that aspect. As far as if that's making the cycle longer or not, I mean, totally could be, I guess, right?
Oh, you paused as if you had another, like the way you just cut it off. I thought, I was like, oh, he's got another thought coming. I got you. Okay. Yeah. So
I was going for drama.
Yeah. Pause for effect. Okay. Now, yeah. So Miguel, I guess let us know what your thoughts are. You came up with the question. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I 100% believe that they're taking advantage of this moment, whether it was done by them or it was just a naturally caused effect because of the NFT craze and the metaverses and all these extra things happening now for retail, right? And it could have been natural or it could have been orchestrated. Whichever the case is, the point is, I think that is what they're doing. They're using this moment to accumulate more Bitcoin in the background while nobody's really paying attention to Bitcoin because it doesn't promise them the 100x or the 10x or 15x for the average retail investor. But they know that they can get the gains that they need. At the end of the day, that's kind of what we were talking about yesterday. Maybe the Bitcoin maxis are right? And we're just being distracted with all this other promise. And I think that the only things that altcoins should be really used for and NFTs and so on in the short term to medium term is to make you more capital to be able to accumulate more Bitcoin, because that's the only thing that is really on the plate for institutions. Nobody's really focused on a lot of other altcoins, but maybe some Ethereum and so on. But Bitcoin is where it's at for the institutions. And I think there's some reason behind that outside of just, oh, they're not smart enough about smart contracts. They understand smart contracts. They understand what's happening. But everything else besides Bitcoin incentivizes you to spend, like we were speaking about it yesterday, and to throw away your money and stay in that consumer mentality, not an investor mentality, versus Bitcoin only incentivizes you to accumulate, save, and invest.
Yeah, Paul, you might have you probably missed this yesterday, but we had What If Wednesday yesterday, and basically the idea was, that Miguel was talking about in particular was just that all of the altcoins, Ethereum, everything gives basically a consumeristic, basically has like a consumerism attached to it. So to where like you are NFTs, for example, you are spend, 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 spend. 80,000 APY. You got to buy this, flop it into this, and then put it here. Ultimately, you're spending to get somewhere. You're spending all these different assets to get to your spending, right? Whereas Bitcoin, what do you do with it? Nobody wants to spend it. And so ultimately, that's what Miguel's getting at, is that Bitcoin ultimately kind of goes against the grain at this point, because even though it was created originally as a peer-to-peer cashless payment system, it has turned into that asset that you just want to freaking hold, right? And that's not the narrative that we have been taught. That is not what our government will tell you is going to help save us. Our government is going to tell you that to save us, we need to continue to print and spend, or even if you take the print out of it, how do we keep a society going? Well, we keep spending, 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 spending. And so that's kind of what, that's kind of what he was getting at. So at any event. So what where do you think we're at? You said the timelines are stretched, right? You still
So
see some of these targets being achievable, or are you starting to kind of, because at some point, right? I don't care how awesome you are at what you do, because you've made a lot of fantastic freaking calls over the time that we've been friends. I've seen a lot of them, right? But at some point, you miss one, right? And that's okay. My question is, at what point do you miss it and then recognize, like, or believe, hey, maybe I not only missed it, but maybe my targets are a little off? Are you still thinking, hey, my timing was off, but I think the numbers are still in play?
yeah, I still think that, I mean, Bitcoin going to 200, at the end of the day, maybe that doesn't happen, right? And I'm fine with that. But like more so to me too, like I'm more in the altcoins. I know Nick is, and well, you got Bitcoin too, I guess, but I don't have any Bitcoin anyways. Like I track Bitcoin heavily because obviously we need Bitcoin to succeed to, these certain levels, and it'd be easier to, transition, blah, 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 all the things. At this point, we are 100% in a different time, right, than we've seen in the past two. And the past two have, even the two of them were different in the same situations and scenarios, but there's, key similarities in the three. But that's like if you're picking, out of 4-year time frames, or five, whatever the case may be, out of 12 months, in a year, you got 3 of the same months react really similarly, and then the other 9 are completely different. But what I mean, like it's kind of similar to that nature. So to answer your question, I'm still looking at the same targets, and I'm not going to let that derail me. And one of the reasons why is because, even when we were talking about all this, like the biggest thing to me is the psychology of the market, right? And like I said, like I was talking about Tech Dev, one of the guys on Twitter, well, I'll paint a picture real quick, right, before I even get into any charts. And we've gone over this multiple times, but the idea of 200, 250K, or in general, just the market topping in December, was not necessarily really accepted, right? Especially when we were down in the nitty gritty of May and June. And only until really October, when we had that big burst, and September, had lined up pretty much perfectly, and blah, 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 that's when everybody was really able to be like, okay, maybe this is going to happen. This is perfect. People started buying $69,000 Bitcoin, thinking it was going to go 200, whatever, or X amount of altcoins. But what I brought up was that people like Tech Dev, who, great analysts, whatever, I follow him, I enjoy, but the amount of exposure he got really quickly, I guess, right? He went from 40,000 followers to 250 or 200, I guess, in 45 days.
How do we do that?
Yeah, right. So, but he presents these comparisons and whatever, and then up until pretty much now, because we just went through the Dumpvember instead of Govember, right? Everything was lining up to be like that. And then, the amount of awareness at this point, I guess, is something to there's something to be said about that, because we didn't have that in the past, right? Like in 2017 specifically, right? And we were all there for sure. Maybe you guys were in 2013, I don't know. But There was never, I mean, everybody's so petrified of the bear market, right? That, like, petrified. Every 10% pullback is this the bear market. I'm so scared. I don't want to hold 90%. But we didn't have that in the past, right? Because it just wasn't there. Like, I mean, even the last bull run, I mean, Ethereum wasn't even invented in the first one. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just a different breed in that sense. But what I guess I'm saying is that the awareness is very, very present. So once again, even though people might have not expected 200K to happen or whatever, had it happened in December, how many people do you think would have sold, like, at that point? Because, like I said, basically all of Twitter, which I know that sounds foolish, but that's essentially every person in crypto is, at least most of them are on Twitter following these people, and having those idea sets. So for that to kind of get to the position where it's like when everybody expects one thing, what happens, right? So, but that came quick, though, you know what I mean? Because that's not always been the idea set, right? Like, it was a very different time, you know, even early on this year. So that was like a new idea that really, really got accepted very quickly at the end here. So just in general, whatever. So now it's like on a psychology side, right? On a how are the most amount of people going to get tricked? One thing we talked about previously was that at the end of this term super cycle, extended cycle, blah, blah, blah. Those were those key words and those buzzwords that were getting tossed around. And there's so many, like, I watched Blockchain Backer today, right? For another good example of, he put up a really good argument of his $85,000 top, right? So I looked at that and I'm like, all right, if I'm watching this, I could easily, like, be like, that could easily make sense. You know, he brings that up. Well, then you go look at Benjamin Cowan's theory, and then you go to look at this, and there's so many things that have so many different people that make sense. And the extending cycles now really make sense. And Benjamin Cowan's got pretty much got that on lock. So I guess what I'm saying here is that if we move into the next few months and the targets that we're looking at start getting met, forget about Bitcoin, even if it's just Ethereum hitting 10, 11, 12,000, right? 20,000, 30,000 coming to play, right? And now we're in February for whatever, you know, time frame reasons, and the market is now expected, right, to go to May. May is going to be a really big time frame. Everybody's going to be looking for, right? Like May through whatever. That's going to be the adopted time frame. I really feel.
That's
Man,
the
I just can't.
Next leg up.
Yeah, I can't wrap my mind around that. I literally don't see a situation where our world doesn't crumble around us before freaking May. I don't know. We'll see.
I agree, but you know, that's probably that. I think that's where we're heading, right? Unless we crumble right now. But
that makes sense, though. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
CVO. So you're talking about things crumbling around us, right? If BitBoy is right, and like Ben said, we go into deflation starting next year somewhere, that could be the excuse for the extended cycle, right? Whether it's May or whatever, before having another big leg up in the market.
Drag things out.
Right? Why would everything be dragged down unless there has to be something to point at? And that could be it, right? The deflation instead of the inflation. Who knows?
Could be. The other thing that I was, you know, tossing around just to myself basically is that think of it like this, right? Say where we're at in the cycle, like if we're comparing apples to apples of 2017, whatever, and looking back, like on a nitty gritty, right? 2013 market tops in, you know, the last day of November. 2017, it's 2 weeks later. 2021, maybe it's 2-3 weeks later, right? So it pushes you into January. But depending on how Bitcoin reacts, that's the biggest key. But I'm saying, like, if we get to a point, even if we get to $200,000 Bitcoin and it's end of January, middle of February, whatever, with the idea, because you're already starting to see the $400,000 price targets getting tossed around, right? So when there's more time ahead of us, you know, it's easier to kind of, I think that's going to be something that kind of locks a lot of people. The extending cycle, I think, will be the trigger that to some degree, that gets people holding right at the end. So however that plays out, that's just my personal opinion. I'll still be looking for the same targets. And if we go to 200,000 or 180, whatever Bitcoin, obviously that'd be, you know, plenty for me. And, you know, I wouldn't get greedy. And if we go to 400, obviously that's a super retarded, not retarded, but very outlandish, you know, price target. But
it's only outlandish when you put it into a time frame. But if you start thinking Bitcoin 2030,
Yeah.
right? $400,000 Bitcoin doesn't sound outlandish at all. It's just about when you try putting it in a small time frame, like, wait a minute, how are we
Yeah.
going to get there so quickly?
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem. So with accepting this extended cycle situation happening, any price point for Bitcoin is possible at this point. There shouldn't be any doubt for a higher price point than what we initially thought.
But here's why I think that. So all right, let me back up. I had a friend call me today, and he essentially asked me, a good friend of mine, close friend of mine. He asked me straight up. He literally jokingly in the text said, "Listen, this is financial advice. Tell me what to do here." And, I had made a video, a TikTok today that basically in a roundabout way said that you have got to be able to put together your own thoughts around, I can't dive into your bank account. I can't dive into your mind, and I can't make those decisions for you. So my response when he asked me what to do with not coincidentally, but we were talking about Solana. He was asking me what to do. I sent him that TikTok. And he said, "My gosh, you are so politically correct. Just tell me what to do," right? Okay, so we hear that a lot. And Paul, I know you see this a lot, with your group. A lot of times, let's be real, right? We're not giving financial advice, but a lot of people want, you to tell them essentially kind of what to do, right? Fine. But here's what's going to happen. And here's why I think this is a problem. There's one word that makes this a big problem, and it's greed. And the reason that is a problem, and this is exactly what I ended up telling him. I said, "Mike, look, here you go. If you are going to take profits right now, keep this in mind. Profit is never a dirty word. You should never kick yourself for taking profits. It's not a dirty word. Profits.
It is
Say
when
it
you're
with
taking
me.
cash.
Profits, right? But you need to be prepared that when you take those profits, that if that asset takes off from there, you cannot live in the what if land. Man, what if I wouldn't have taken profits? What if I would have just kept it? What if I would have tossed more money into it?" Guys, in the grand scheme of things, call it an investment, right? Because it is, and long term it is, but short term, you are also gambling, right? You are taking a chance with your money because it can go both ways, right? And so what I basically stressed to him was like, look, you're never wrong for taking profits, and you need to check that greed. The reason that, Paul, what you're saying is going to be such a problem is because, check it out. Let's say it gets to even 100K. And in any form or fashion, if you have a number of people saying, full on extended cycle, we're going to 400K. The people that don't have a set game plan, that are just riding by their coattails, right? Riding the coattails of all of the influencers, they are going to be the ones that are going to suffer as a result of this, because if it doesn't get to 400 because that greed mode is on, and it gets to 330, let's say it even goes wild, well, it's still got 70K to go, right? And so it's that greed that always, always, always will be, I think, the biggest battle, because people don't know when to let go and just take profits and see a good thing, be thankful for what they have, and then get themselves back in at a better position. I don't know. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. I think that's a big problem.
I think that applies to altcoins, but I don't think that applies to Bitcoin.
Well, not if you're just going to buy it and hold it forever, right? If you're going to just buy it and hold it, but Miguel, the reality is, right, if you have one Bitcoin, a half a Bitcoin, multiple Bitcoin, whatever, when you start to get into numbers like that, unless your set game plan is I'm holding to 2030 and beyond, you would be half freaking batshit crazy. Excuse my mouth. You would be half crazy at some of these large numbers not to take some profits, because, bro, it is going to correct at some point. You might have to wait a while.
You're hoping that it corrects, and that it corrects enough that where it makes sense for you to buy back in and double up your position. But if it doesn't, you're getting rid of the best performing asset.
I totally agree. But you're talking like Michael Saylor at that point. You're talking like Michael Saylor at that point.
No, listen,
forever,
so
which is fine.
A thing is, right, people buy these crypto punks, right? They buy
debate crypto, by the way, guys. Debate crypto.
They buy crypto punks because they want to be part of this VIP club, and they're going to hold it forever, right? They're not looking into flipping their
Okay.
crypto
Yeah.
They're just
Right.
holding it forever, so it
Right.
can keep gaining value, be part of this VIP
Yeah.
club. What people don't realize is that holding one Bitcoin, one full Bitcoin or more, is the biggest VIP club you're ever going to be part of, more than any crypto punk out there. So why would you sell your Bitcoin and lose your access to that club? Because only one full Bitcoin in the next couple of years is going to be impossible for the great majority of humankind.
I'm going to tell you why in really one sentence. The reason why is because the majority of people that are in crypto right now need to take profits. They need it. They literally need to take profits.
In altcoins, not Bitcoin.
In anything, they need it.
It doesn't make sense in Bitcoin.
Are you going to take profits?
Not in Bitcoin.
You lie. That is a lie. That is a bold-faced lie.
If we're talking about an extended cycle where we're not going to be hitting any levels of anything, why would I take any profits even if it hits 100K right now? I told you I'm going to sell at 100K.
So let me ask you guys, what? All right, lengthening cycle, bring it up, right? So what are your guys' thoughts on that now that we're where we are?
Happening. No, not happening. There's no freaking way. Not happening.
So what does that mean then? So like 50, 60K's top and
no. I don't think that. I think we're still gonna have. I think we're gonna have a big run. Whether it actually hits 100 or not, that's still, I think, for me, that target. And again, guys, been wrong before. Happy to be wrong. Not happy to be wrong again. I don't like being wrong, but we'll be wrong again. But my view, and it's been my view, is that there's too much chaos going on to not ultimately tip the scales enough at some point before too long that we turn back into ultimately a bear market, combined with the fact that the Bitcoin halving still is a real thing. And then the reality, Miguel, is with what you're saying is if you're going to think like that, that's fine, right? Well, I'm all about it. We know long term where we're at. We're holding. We want to win long term. We want to have as much as we can. I'm with you. But then my question to you would be, so what tells you that we are in a lengthened cycle or a super cycle? And at what point does it end? Because you can't believe that it's just going to go forever.
So look, so it's irrelevant whether we're in a super cycle, an extended cycle, or not, right? The matter of fact is, and we've spoken about it before, is 2030 price point for Bitcoin is extremely higher than whatever we predict in the next 6 months is going to be. So if I'm stuck holding my Bitcoin through a bear market again, I'm okay with that because I know 2030 is my plan that Bitcoin's going to be probably $1 million plus, right? And if it happens before that with some other crazy cycles, I'm all for it. Awesome. But if it doesn't happen until 2030, I'm also okay with that because there is nothing better to hold than Bitcoin. I would sell 100% of all my altcoins before I even try to think about selling a Bitcoin because it's just it's more rare than anything else. And getting to that level and then losing my access to one full Bitcoin for the possibility, right, of hoping that we have another.
That was the Bitcoin gods down and stopping Miguel from speaking that ludicrous that he was.
No, they're not speaking. They're not trying to stop me from speaking that ludicrous. What they're trying to do is not let me tell you guys the truth and try to make you sell your Bitcoin. That's what they're trying to do.
Oh, dude, no. I listen, Miguel. We both agree on the fact that if you had assets right now, one of them being Bitcoin, because that's what we're talking about. If you had Bitcoin right now and you don't need to take profits to operate in day to day, you don't need it like to be able to continue to live or pay bills. We agree that 2030 and beyond, this price is just overall on a macro level going to continue to get exponentially bigger. So yes, the fact is, why would you sell it? I totally agree. The only way but again, it's that word greed. Because if people believe that it's going to do this like a balloon and it's going to get bigger and bigger and then continue to do this, if they believe that, people have in their mind that they can buy here, sell here, buy here, sell here, buy here, sell here. But people do have in their mind that they're able to do that. You know,
And
you've
that's
got
the big
somebody like
problem.
Paul. You got
Everyone
somebody like
thinks,
Paul who's really good at trading. I
but they're
believe that.
not. But the majority of people aren't good at trading. They think they're going to be able to sell Bitcoin's top and buy Bitcoin's bottom. And
Right,
most likely,
which is false.
90% of those people are going to
No,
be selling Bitcoin's bottom and buying
they're
Bitcoin's
buying
top.
the top. I
So
agree.
that's not the risk that I'm willing to take with my Bitcoin, because
Mhm.
no matter what
Yeah,
happens, nobody ever really knows until it happens.
right.
So that's just a risk. Altcoins, take the risk. Buy, sell, up and down, right? Do all you can. At the end of the
So
day,
with Bitcoin, be lazy, but ultimately it guarantees you a win long term.
yes, it's altcoins and anything else is make money to buy Bitcoin. Why would I want to be making money in crypto to go sit back on cash? I don't want cash, right? I want more Bitcoin. So
Paul,
let's let
Makes sense.
CVO talk a
Makes
bit,
sense.
because we brought him on the show and we've had him silent for
talk
like
some
20
sense
minutes.
into us.
What's that?
Talk some sense into us. We brought you on the show, and then Miguel and I are going back and forth. Let
I
us
love it, man.
bring us into the charts. Tell us what you're thinking. Lengthening cycle, not lengthening cycle. What are these price targets looking at? Where are we at? What do you think?
Well, let's take a look. I just shared my screen, so I still see the target. Like, so this is the thing, right? So I'm knocking a timeline at this point. Like, and I say that in the sense of, like, obviously, like I said, my timeline that I was going off of was December being the top for Bitcoin and altcoins in just January, right? So obviously we're at a position where we are way far behind where we should have been, in that theory. And there's no way to get to that point now. So I bring up this chart for whatever for now, but I still think we're going to get to. I still am projecting to see, man. These. I'll show you the targets in general, and most of it's 200. 200 is the actual like top target, and then there's blow off top could be anything, right? 250, 270, 280, whatever the case, and whatever. And once again, I say that somebody earlier wrote something. I saw one of the comments was like, "Oh, now a timeline sounds outlandish," or 400 sounds like. To me, none of this sounds outlandish. I say that to, because that's what everybody, as soon as we say some of these things, that's the first comment that always comes out. And we're in a position now where you get these small lulls. And once again, we're at $56,000 now. Literally in July, people would have died to see $56,000 Bitcoin when they woke up. And they're in the same like position right now, as far as their, like you said, their fear, their greed, whatever. Their emotions that they were down here. And no matter what price action we get to, it'll be the same way, right? When we're at 90K or whatever, there'll be a position where we're in full fear at 90K because people have bought at that level, right? Expecting to go higher. But anyways, I still expect the full targets to be met. If I'm being honest, I still think it'll come relatively quick. And then I think that, those targets coming in the next month and a half, 2 months, whatever, more so on Ethereum. We'll go through that again real quick. But
So pause just real quick.
Yep.
Why does it come quick, Paul? Why, if we are looking at thinking, hey, this goes into May, this goes into next year, whatever. Why does it come quick? Is it that confusion piece that you've talked to us about before? Why does it need to come quick? Why can they not play with us all the way up, all the way down?
It doesn't need to. I mean, by all means, it doesn't need to. I'm just, like I said, that's just at the moment, my opinion for
Okay.
now. But I'm still just kind of going off of by the end of January, tax reasons, things of that nature, right? Like just the traditional things we've seen. But of course, it could go longer. So it'll unfold. That's why, like, to me, I'm really not looking at a timeline anymore. I'm not going to focus on next month or May or April. Like, when Bitcoin starts punching up to certain levels, and realistically, more so for me, I don't really care about Bitcoin, right? I don't hold any Bitcoin right now. I have some small leverage plays.
Blasphemer.
Right. But the goal for me is to accumulate more Bitcoin, right? It's just right now I'm playing the altcoins, but in general, right? So I put up this tweet today.
So who's the maxi now, huh? I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
You're the maxi. I just put up this today, right? And this is the 3-day time frame for Bitcoin, and this is obviously the summer high, the price action we've been kind of going through here. We had a little bit of like this deviation right here. It's pretty much just one candle, though. Aside from that, everything else kind of fits in this what I identified as a possible ascending triangle, right? So this is a bullish continuation pattern, right? I Googled it here just to kind of bring up for everybody to see. You kind of come into this pattern from the bottom, come up, and you kind of consolidate in this range. You generally have a flat top, and then you have this ascending lower resistance level here, support, whatever. And then you break to the upside, right? And then the measured move of this would essentially be the top to the bottom from wherever you break out, right? So that puts us up at a 101. Like, so for right now, right, like the major targets, whatever. But for the near term right now, this is an active target that could be very well in the cards here. What's also interesting about this is that you pull these fib retracements as well, right? So you get the extended targets up top. And if I move this, this comes right into where you got the 1.618, right? That's that favorite target for most traders. Most people leverage and everything. They're going to take some profits right there at about 87K. But the measured move of this huge, if this plays out, right, that'll put us up into this level, which is the 2, and that's right at 100K. 100K also is a super, level where, like Nick just said, he's going to be looking to sell out. That's going to be like 50K, right? That's going to be a huge barrier to break through. A lot of people are going to have sell orders stacked up right there. So I can see that coming in. And then what happens too, or what may happen, is that you get to that level and you get that pullback. And then just like this, so we got this pullback. What's the first words out of everybody's mouth? Bear market, bear market, bear market.
Yeah.
We get a pullback right here, boy. Best believe everybody's going to think we're in the bear market. And it's just a never-ending fear factor that's going to play out. But right now, people will not, be looking to get into these things because it's not attractive. It's boring. They probably still think they got time. Bitcoin will probably just trickle sideways for a few more weeks, whatever.
Yeah, people love buying green candles. Hate red candles.
Exactly. And then we get this, October style, just, rip and run. But that's for Bitcoin, right? So in general, like I still think Bitcoin is on trajectory for that $200,000 target, right? Which let's see, gone over this a ton of times too. Right now, we basically, coming into this is, I pulled this from the previous high to the low. And this 2.272 target up here is my top of the market target, right? So generally speaking, it's like 200,000, 206. Right now it's showing up as 212. But right now we're literally struggling right at that one level. Like I just said, that's 1.618, that major target that a lot of profits get taken originally. Breaking through there is usually a little tough. Once we do that.
Where does this money come from?
Oh,
Paul?
God. Oh, God.
We're talking no, but for real. Okay, so listen. Yes, I am well aware that a lot of the leverage trade, it's not dollar for dollar. I get that, right? But I also do understand that in a macro level, we are talking about adding, trillions of dollars, trillions with a T here.
So let me show you something. The total market, right? We pulled this up recently too. So Bitcoin has what, 40, 50%, give or take. Right now it's about 40% market cap, right, in the entire market. So this is the total market cap, right? This is all Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything together.
Yeah.
Same deal, right? You got this. This is a bullish pattern right here, known as cup and handle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Breaks out, retests this previous level, and then it takes off. So the next level for the entire crypto market, next target would be about $4 trillion.
Ooh, let's go.
So that's only, I mean, that's a lot of money to come in. And if we have 3 months, 6 months, however long the cycle gets extended, then whatever. But that's 1.4 trillion from where we are now, and it's only 1 trillion from where we topped out just literally a few weeks back in November 9th. So that's $1 trillion from getting back to 69K, basically Bitcoin. And then if you got $4 trillion in the market with a 40% Bitcoin, that's 80 to 100K, depending on how much dominance Bitcoin has right there, right? So where the money is coming from, I mean, it's from everywhere, man, from everywhere, everyone. You got all these NFTs and all this, there's so much marketing out there right now. There's so many people waiting on the sidelines. I still have friends and family reaching out, asking, but they're like hesitant, at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think it's going to be, and then you got the hedge funds, man, that, they have money waiting. Like they're going to play into the rally too, right? It's not like they already have everything and they're not going to be jumping in. So
that it's crazy because the you know, the hedge funds do play such a huge part and role in this. And we've talked about that before. We all know that to be true. It always makes me wonder, though, you know, my understanding, I've got a buddy that was a part of a hedge fund, and he always told me that the hedge funds, as much as they dislike each other in a really weird way, they work together, at least in the stock market. Like a lot of them, like they hate each other, they'll try to screw each other, but at a macro level, they will somewhat work together for what they would consider to be the greater good sometimes. My question becomes, is it because right now the crypto market is so unregulated that they are able to literally very openly and honestly say, hey, look, here's what retail is going to do if we do this, this, and this. So let's just work together and let's do this. Like, do you think that those conversations are openly now? I know they're happening just like when, you know, we get on a phone call or whatever, just like when we would share information on a project or whatever. I get that. But do you think that on a large level that a lot of these institutions are literally getting together and having these conversations where they're like, listen, here's how we're going to trap and create professional bag holders? Or do you just believe that they are all so in tune with the entire market that they just instinctively know what's happening? Or the third question would be, are they waiting for something politically to happen or not happen to pull the trigger to take off? Do you have any thoughts, either of you, both of you, on that?
Go
I'll let
ahead, Miguel.
CVO take that first.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, like that's to me, that's kind of what the whole idea is too, right? So I just saw a comment in here. I don't know how true it is or not, right? But just looking over here, somebody said in January, there's a giant wall of institutional money already organized to enter crypto space, from retirement plans, IRA, 401ks, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, to me, just in general, like, yeah, I think that there's a lot of, like, one thing that comes to mind is Berkshire, right? How much cash has Homeboy been sitting on the entire stock market rally, which, you know, kind of almost didn't make sense, kind of did, kind of doesn't, you know, whatever. That's just an example. Once again, this is just pulling straws at this point. But I think that, you know, the thing is like right now, I'm looking at Bitcoin. Most people are not buying this, right? So when you come back to that simple idea of, you know, to get that major exit liquidity, right, at the end of these things, you need that excitement, and you need a lot of people coming in and buying. And right now, nobody's buying. Even if you start selling off Bitcoin, you'd be back down at 30, 20K again, right? Like you'd lose so much just in slippage if you tried to dump your bag. So
yeah.
In order to do that, you're going to need something. And I think that your three questions, I think, will all come out together, right? There'll probably be, you know, there probably is a massive plan in a sense. There probably is, a bunch of institutions all, you know, geared up and prepared together, you know, right under Michael Saylor's wings and Kathy Wood, and just, you know, ready and, you know, prepared to do something. And a political thing might occur, and a stock market issue might occur, and blah, 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 right? Like, just, we don't know what that looks like yet, but I think that that's definitely in the cards personally.
Honestly, I forgot what all the questions were because there were so many of them.
I was just basically asking you, smartass. I was basically asking.
I did. I'm asking again.
I was basically asking whether you think that it is high level conversations of these hedge funds working together to drive a basically to fight against and to create professional bag holders with the, you know, of the retail traders. Or do you think that they're actually waiting for some sort of a geopolitical factor to happen to actually pull the trigger and take off with
I think it's both. I think they wait for geopolitical moments, and they also have these conversations, right? We've seen the proof in the pudding, right? We've seen Logan Paul come out and talk about how he's had the conversation with Gary Vee and like 50 other biggest millionaires, right? All got on the phone. We're talking about NFT strategies, what they're going to pump, and they're not just talking about what they're going to pump, right? If they're pumping it, they're going to dump it on somebody. They're going to sell it and make money. So if at smaller scales they do this, right? We saw Wall Street bets with GameStop and these other stocks do the same thing. That everybody got together on Reddit and said, hey, we're going to pump this. right, until all the way to this price. Then we're gonna
Right.
start dumping whatever.
Right.
The teamwork is happening online, and it's easier now than ever. So of course, these hedge funds in the world of crypto that barely have zero regulations, like the Wild West out there, say, hey, you're gonna come out and you're gonna trash talk Bitcoin, Jamie Dimon, and you're gonna dump the price, right? And then we're gonna buy up the bags, and there's gonna be no proof that you're buying, but we're gonna be buying it, and then we're gonna pump the price, and then we're gonna, cash out. We'll pay you on the side, right? And that's just the deals. These deals are happening all the time, and they're waiting for these geopolitical positions. They could be delaying Bitcoin right now to a point where we're a lot closer to that deflationary moment, and then pump Bitcoin. Everybody gets super hyped. They buy the top, and then they say, well, here's a deflationary event. Time to dump it on everybody. They dump Bitcoin. They're like, well, it wasn't manipulation. We just had this event happen that we knew was coming anyways, that you guys didn't know, but we knew. We timed it properly, and all the fingers are being pointed at the event and not at us being the ones causing the price movement.
Yeah, I think it's going to be super interesting when this all plays out. It's always interesting, right? We were all around last time, and basically, were at least I was not a willing participant for what actually ended up happening. I feel like I learned everything, the hard way, and I'm actually really glad that I learned the way that I did, because in my estimation, I have done, and I know I've done a heck of a lot better and have a lot better understanding, not just on an educational sense, but just on being able to check my emotions, check my greed at the door, and really put together a game plan. And I will stress again, you can have all of the knowledge. You've been around for years. You can have all the technical analysis knowledge. You can have all the fundamental knowledge. You can be in tune with the market. You can eat, breathe, sleep it, check the markets at night when you wake up to use the bathroom, right? All of that can happen. And you can be a greedy individual. And ultimately, that's going to play against you. So I think that Miguel really, for us, again, not financial advice, but I think we both kind of agree that you are taking a chance by any time that you take profits, right? Especially when it comes to Bitcoin. But at the same time, so you either have basically the idea that, hey, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to hold it, and then I'm just going to accumulate more and I'm going to hold it. And I'm going to accumulate more and I'm going to hold it. Look at that, extrapolate that out long term, or you have to be willing to take a little bit more risk on your shoulders and do some things like Paul's doing right now, where Paul says, you know what, I still want to accumulate Bitcoin as well, but I'm going to go about it a little different way. I'm going to utilize all of the tools that I have at my disposal in front of me. I'm going to utilize the charts with all of these different smaller altcoins than Bitcoin. And I'm going to take all of my profits from that, ball it up in, buy some more Bitcoin, do it again, ball it up, put it into Bitcoin. And I think that those are, I think those are really the two ways that I see this really working consistently for people. It's just hard to tell, which one works for you, So yeah, I think it's going to be super interesting to see which way, see how this pans out. I should say, not which way it pans out. We all know it's going to pan out, with what we believe to be at least one more run. I think we all agree on that, right? We all agree that we're going to have at least one more parabolic run of some sort, right? All three of us agree on that. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, I think we're going to have some parabolic movement, right? Whether it's short-lived or not. What the price target is going to be, I don't know, because I don't know anything, but all I know is Bitcoin's going to go up in the long term anyways.
So Paul, let me ask you this. Theoretically, with your price targets, and this is just me trying to jump into your head a little bit, theoretically with your price targets when you're trading, okay, are you setting stop loss? Are you setting stop losses on some of you? Are you setting sell orders? Are you doing some of that to protect yourself, or are you basically wide open enough on a lot of these trades that you're willing to see a lot of downside with the opportunity to get a lot of upside? What does that look like for you? What's your risk tolerance look like for you?
So I don't do, I have a couple leverage plays that I just, like I said, small leverage, and those I just let liquidate out, right? It's not a lot. It's not like life threatening if I lose it. But like
Okay.
for me, leverage plays for like stop losses always get hit, and it's just miserable. So
Okay. So you don't
that's
use them. Okay.
on leverage trades,
On
but on just
leverage.
like a spot trade, like if I'm just like buying into VeChain and or whatever, like Sand or Decentraland, and like we went over those cup and handle breakouts recently. I wait for breakouts essentially and then retest. And then if I buy in, I'll usually put a stop loss like 5% below. And then from there, like if that gets triggered, then I reevaluate and go back in. But from there too, yeah, like sell orders. I have sell orders at least for 50% of my holdings at certain levels as well. And then I do let the rest, like there's like alerts and all kinds of stuff that go off. So I mean, like I keep a heavy track on it, but a lot of times we see these moves when we're sleeping or you're not
Yeah.
paying attention during that moment, and
Right.
you had a 30% pump and whatever. So yeah, I mean, I tend to be pretty tight on that level of risk, but at the same, yeah. So a lot of times too, like right now, I don't have a ton. Like I have 50% of something I'm trading at a sell order or sell limit. But when we start getting into some parabolic movements, I'll probably start being more aggressive on that. Right now, it's still like the market's not necessarily there yet. So, but yeah, I mean, generally, I'll put a 5% stop loss on just a regular trade. Just to,
I was just curious because I think a lot of people when they get in, they want to get in and they want to trade because it sounds so sexy, right? It sounds like you get in there and you're like, I'm going to day trade and I'm going to, and I think you can speak on this a lot better than I can, Paul. Actually, I know you can. I think part of the problem with that is people are not ready for that. They have not educated themselves enough on these charts yet to really jump in and be successful with that. But B, isn't one of the big problems like just flat out over trading, trying to see see a chart pattern where maybe there's really not trying to basically force the chart to say something. Is that correct?
I feel like most people, so like for example, like with a 5% stop loss, there's two reasons. Well, one main reason I do 5%, right? Because 5% is the only amount that you can lose, and you only need to make that amount back to make back, right? If you lose 10%, it's going to take you whatever 12% make back. You lose 20%, so on and so forth, right? You lose 50%, you got to make 100% back. If you lose 5%, you only need to make 5% back. But how many times do I get stopped out? A lot, right? Like you're probably going to 3 out of 5 times you're going to enter, you might get stopped out because you're so tight on that limit. So it can be frustrating, whatever. And then each time that happens, I kind of reevaluate and I'm patient and I don't just rush back into a trade, or even if it's the same one. But what will happen is a lot of others will, and most people don't use the stop loss. Let's just be honest there too, right? So somebody will be holding something and it'll be down 10%, and it'll just kind of sit there for 2 weeks at the same price action, and then you're going to see Sand and Decentraland and Block and all these other ones just popping and exploding, and all these other gaming things and this and that, and you're sitting in something else, and then like you said, you're going to overtrade because now you're going to jump out of the one you're at a 10% loss in. You're going to probably jump into one of those that are already up and to the point where people are going to start taking profits. Then you actually get another 10% hit on the one you jump into, so then you jump out of that one aggressively. So now you're down 20%, and you're just going to be a revenge trading almost, trying to make up the quick losses. So I think that's what happened to a lot of people. And trading is not easy, man, by any means. And it's a lot more losses, obviously, or a lot more downside and all this stuff than people imagine or realize, right? It's a lot of planning and being able to be like, all right, lost 5%, I'm going to re-enter, blah, blah, blah. And it's definitely a different mind game for sure.
Yeah, it's like a poker game, right? Where when you
lose
where I
three hands,
always win.
you win one.
Where I always win. Is that what we're getting at right here? Okay.
Yeah. So it's like a poker game, right? You're winning, you're doing great, but if you start losing and you start revenge trading and you start going into that tilt mentality, you're not gonna get out of there. You're gonna just dig a deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper hole. So people need to be very careful, right? Some people think about the same thing about poker. Oh, I'm just gonna jump into poker and just go to the casino and I'll make a few $100 or $1,000 every month, and I'll be living off of that. You're probably gonna lose a lot more than what you're gonna be making until you get really good. And even the really good players go on big losing streaks because you don't control the cards you get. And if you just kept getting dealt shit hands compared to other people on the table, no matter how good you are, you can't always bluff your way into a win, and you can't force it. And people get into these tilt mentalities thinking, well, I'm an amazing player, I have to win and make my money back. And it doesn't owe you that. The game doesn't owe you that money back.
And you know what? You said, you can't bluff your way into a win. And the one thing that I can guarantee you can't bluff are these markets, right? The one thing that I have noticed over time is that look at it like this. These markets are like your ex-girlfriend, right? They don't care about you, okay? They want to inflict pain on you if at all possible, right? They want you to know that you messed with the wrong one, right? And so when I say that, all I mean is that there is no what's the word I'm
Mercy.
looking for? That's a great way to put it. There is no mercy from these markets, and that's why I think it's very important to understand what your game plan looks like. That's why we talk about that, and I think that's why I was asking Paul, like, what does your level, what does your risk tolerance look like? What are your game plans to basically mitigate some of that risk? So, Paul, let me ask you this, just to kind of get an overall feel. Has anything? So, is ETH? And if nobody was in here a couple other times we've talked to Paul, he was actually using Ethereum. He was actually using ETH to kind of plot the path for where we were headed. Are you still on that mentality? If so, can you show us that real quick before we kind of start to wrap things up? And then I think we're going to take a few questions from the chat. So if you guys have got anything, as long as you've already smashed the like and as long as you're subscribed, then we'll answer a question for you.
Yes. I'll share my screen again.
Yeah, Nick, you gotta bring that up.
What I gotta bring? What?
The screen.
What? I'm sharing his screen. What are you talking about? You're not in. Oh, Miguel, you can't do this right now.
Look
My
at the
bad.
private chat,
My
bro.
bad.
Look at the
No,
private
I
chat.
didn't realize you couldn't do it. You usually do it, so I didn't know. My bad.
The old debate crypto. All right, so yeah, I'm sure I'll get heckled for looking back at 2017, right? But just showing an example here, right? So these are all patterns in general, right? These previous cycles, everything. So this previously, right? You had this major. This is a 3-day time frame too. So I mean, this is a lot of data here. June, September, November, cup and handle, right? This big bullish pattern right here,
Right.
breaks out. I'm going to zoom this in a little bit to the 1 day actually. And so what for anybody that's not been here, right? This is what we were talking about before, is that previously we seen Ethereum breakout, whatever, and I dated this here, right? So in December when Bitcoin topped, this is where Ethereum was at, right? About $85 or $800, whatever. And then essentially the altcoins continued to rally through January. Now these are not just random levels here, right? So once again, taking a fib retracement tool from the high of June right there to the low, we could see that when we came through and we broke this cup and handle right here, you broke through, you came back and you retested the previous all-time high essentially, and then we rallied upwards to, drag this over a bit. We rallied up to this 1.618 target. Right. Once again, that's a major target always for any trader, anybody that's looking to take profits at some point. That's a major target zone right there. So when Bitcoin topped in the last cycle, with Ethereum was coming into the 1.618. From there, the altcoins rallied, and Ethereum tops at the 2. Right, this next target level up here, and then we have the bear market that ensued after that. So I bring that up to show a similarity. And once again, not because of this exact price action that, it's going to react the same way and it's going to stop at the same levels. These are actual technical targets, right? And they're going to be different from whatever data stream we have on the other side. It's not like if I just drag this box over there, it's going to go from these high to lows. So
Right.
I come over here now to today's Ethereum. And I had this all marked up for you last time, but I think I deleted it.
That's all right.
Because I've been messing around with it. So anyways, same deal here, right? This was the summer. So this is May. We got our September, our cup and handle, our breakout. We basically came back down and we retested the previous high right here. So this is our retest, and we're essentially launching from here. If we do pull our same fibs here. And this is what, once again, why I'm not really focused now. I mean, at this point, obviously this isn't going to happen in December and January, at least for December, for Bitcoin to hit the top targets. So, but one thing I'll be paying attention to is for ETH. I mean, if Ethereum starts coming in these same levels and Bitcoin's at 80 or 90, and then, well, maybe that's like, to me, I'll be looking for those to possibly be, still levels that I'll be taking a lot of profits in altcoins. But what I was going over last time was how, if we see a similar, pattern here, regardless, this 1.618 is going to be the next major Ethereum target. Okay. And what we saw last time was when Bitcoin topped, basically, and we would see about $8,400, or that looks at 79, right under 8,000. So right under $8,000 would be that next major target for ETH, a pullback. And then essentially this would be the time frame where the altcoins just kind of have that final rally.
That's such a huge move. What did that pullback just look like approximately that you just showed? Where did we go from?
That's just I don't know what it'll look like. I just made a generic pullback, but that would be like 28. But I'm sure there'll be some kind of pullback that comes out of there where everybody thinks that the market tops or whatever. So in general, whatever, we're gonna have some of these nasty pullbacks along the way, and then from there we would go up and we would top at this 2 once again. Basically at about 11,500, 11,000, 12,000. Maybe there's a little blow off top, towards 13 or something. Yeah. And until we get to these levels, and we kind of, I'll reevaluate obviously as we go, for me, but that's kind of where I'll be taking a majority of profits along for my altcoins, right? So when Ethereum gets to those levels, the other altcoins will be, at some of these higher targets that, we have in place as well. So that's the idea at the moment.
And the reason that you are using ETH to lead the way is you're not using ETH as the target to lead the way you're talking about after you feel that Bitcoin's topped, or as Bitcoin. You're not saying that you're looking for that from ETH and then Bitcoin to top, because that's not how things have been in the past, right? You're saying that's going to lead all of your alts that you're getting into, right?
Right. Yeah, I'd be looking for this. That's the thing. Like we'll be having to look, having to pay attention to see how things play out. But in theory, I'd be looking for this to be coming into contact when Bitcoin's getting near the top. So whatever that ends up being, if it's 120, if it's 150, if it's 200, because right now we're probably going to just continue to go sideways for a bit here, right? Like even though we're, expecting that launch at some point here, it might not just happen from this point, but once again, new data comes in and we will trade it out, but we'll see how things go. But this is the next major target for Ethereum that I'm looking for. So
we got a question in the chat here. Bart wants to know, when the hell are we breaking 60K? So break that down for us, Paul. When are we breaking 60K, bro?
Man, I'm sorry, Bart. It's 2 weeks late, man. It's
I know.
Gosh, I really thought we'd be at 100K on Turkey Day. I like I said, I had to go get the Puerto Rico hideaway house. After that never came through. So I'm not going to put a timeline on it, my friend, but I would say soon.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a big move soon.
Yeah. I definitely 60K is me. It's right there.
I mean, I can't see a world where, short of just something absolutely insane happening, I can't see a scenario where we don't have. Now, listen, we've made a ton of gains, right? So this might be greed speaking in me, but we have not seen a true blow off top. And I just can't see a scenario where that 69K, where we basically just kind of, lazily went past 65, got up and then back. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive. I just don't see it being the top. I really don't.
I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be that way anymore, right? Maybe the blow off tops don't have to happen, right?
Yeah.
Nothing has to happen. There is no rules that this A, B, and C need to happen because it's crypto, right? Yeah. Anything can happen. Anything can change at any moment. So maybe we don't get a blow off top. Maybe we get another lazy movement upward to the ultimate top, and then slowly come back down again, right? Into this extended cycles where we have tops and then we kind of slow down again. Then we have another top, and maybe that's just how Bitcoin's going to move for the next couple of years. Who knows?
Crypto fam, the moral of the story tonight is,
don't listen to CryptoKeeper.
We don't know. Don't listen to me. right? I don't know. No, we ultimately are trying to do everything we can to keep ourselves educated. That's what we always talk to you about. Get yourself educated. We do tell you to do your own research because at the end of the day, you do have to make the decisions, right? We just try to lead, guide, and direct some good thought processes, right? We try to talk about some really good. When we bring Paul on, we bring Paul on because we trust a lot of his charting techniques and the skills that he has there. We bring Miguel. Oh, never mind. Miguel's just here. And then we, as if you can't tell, Miguel and I are just loving throwing shots at each other tonight. No, we ultimately all work at this together to give you what we believe to be the best setup as we can see it. But at the end of the day, yeah, the facts are no one, if someone tells you they know what's actually going to happen, right? You can laugh because the reality is nobody does. So Crypto fam, I guess I want to just end the evening with, first of all, thank you all for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you. Paul, as always, brother, we love having you on. Thank you for being here,
100%.
brother. We look forward to continuing having you on. And Crypto fam, if nobody's told you before tonight, we freaking love you. We appreciate you. And until next time, hodl like it's hot. We will see you soon.